So we have the beautiful Miss Marsha Hallager. She is a multifaceted writer, producer, and director who creates groundbreaking and critical content. She started her career in radio, to which she credits as her entree into the world of television and film production. She's an accomplished independent documentary filmmaker with a keen sense of storytelling. Her achievements are multidisciplined. She's worked across various genres, including unscripted to scripted television, to horror films, and to feature documentaries. She served as one of the EPs and producers on the award winning documentary One Child Left Behind, The Untold Atlanta Cheating Scandal. And she just wrapped PBS American Masters Renegades, where she directed, produced the Thomas Wiggins episode and wrote produced the Celestine Tate Harrington episode. And her disability has taught her the value of resilience and perseverance. And she aims to create films that not only entertain and inform, but also inspire and empower audiences to overcome their own challenges. Through her work, Hallager aspires to highlight the emotional, physical, and societal barriers that individuals with individual disabilities face on a daily basis. So let's give a huge, warm We Talk Weekly welcome to Miss Marsha Hallager.
Hello, how are you? How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
Great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great, yeah. Glad
Yeah.
to be here.
You know, we're just excited to have you. One of the things that we do here at We Talk Weekly is we like to amplify those voices. That's is and we're unapologetic with it. And that's something that you're doing, which I'm excited that you are, right? Because oftentimes those marginalized voices, those vulnerable populations, they do become a little voiceless, and they try to reach out, and unfortunately they don't have platforms to amplify that, and you actually gave them that, right? So I want to start there with some of your work, and why do you feel like it's necessary to lend a platform like that?
Well, I will tell you a short story where, I haven't always been as fortunate as I will say now to be able to tell these stories. It was only a few years ago I was involved, or I started in pre-production and production on a project, only for them to become aware of different health challenges I face. And they found a way to revoke and just take back my agreement and deal memo, which we know is not necessarily legal, but there's loopholes and people can get around it. And it wasn't the first time that happened. So being able to be a part of this project, I feel very blessed and very honored to be able to do so.
Fantastic. Now, in your travels, right, have you felt that you yourself have been marginalized in terms of your own voice,
Well, yeah. So what I was just speaking about, that, even being in the production world, the thing with me is I have what they say is a hidden or invisible disability. And so a lot of times it's not because I'm quote unquote passing, it's just at a glance you can't tell. And I don't feel the need to necessarily hide. It's my reality. And so, trying to be transparent and talk about it, that's what's led to, different agreements and deal memos being taken away from me.
So for those of you, those people who are watching at home, could you describe if you could,
Sure.
if you feel comfortable talking about your disability?
Sure. Well, I had 6 brain surgeries last year. I have the fluid leaks from my brain, and it goes between too high or too low pressure in my brain. And one of the surgeries, I had a shunt and catheter put in my brain. It's on this side. And so I still, to this day, have to continuously go back to see the surgeon and several other doctors on my health team.
So, but your disability doesn't interfere with you being able to work or
It at times it does.
It does.
And that's another reason why I was very grateful for this project, because not only were we amplifying the voices of various people with disabilities in front of the camera, a lot of the filmmakers behind the scenes had disabilities as well, and so that's, to this degree, that's never been done before.
Right. Yeah, and I think when you mentioned that they found a way to, I guess, remove you from your role, that was a little troubling to me, because, had they not, I guess, known, you would have been able to.
Yep.
And how are they able to even do that? That's just.
For the life of me, I don't know. But, it's like that weren't the first ones. And unfortunately, they won't be the last. And I want to try to do these projects for other people like me and people who aren't either, because it's not right. You shouldn't be able to do that. And like I said, we know it's not legal. I have no idea how they were able to, but they did. And perhaps if I would have put up more of a fuss, but I'll be completely honest, it felt like somebody took the rug right from underneath my feet. It felt like a gut punch almost. And so then you become really, not necessarily woe is me, but God, this is my reality, right? And so people don't understand, it's still something that, I'm processing and dealing with on a daily basis. There's when I have a day where I can't get out of bed, all types of things go through my head. So good and a bad thing, it's not my personality to just sit there. Maybe I should. I'm always going to push myself, and probably sometimes too much.
Yeah, I appreciate you, sharing a vulnerable moment, because very transparent, and I appreciate that, and I think that you lend space for others who may potentially have the challenges like you face in terms of opportunities being taken away from them, but also the hidden disability. And I want you to expand on that for those who never even heard of that term. I want you to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, sure.
Well, a hidden disability can be autism. It can be ADHD. Okay. It can be lupus. It can be sickle cell. It's just at a glance, looking at someone, unless they tell you or you see or you notice symptoms in them that probably because you are going through it or somebody very close to you, but at a glance, you cannot tell what people with hidden disabilities and invisible disabilities are facing.
Fantastic. The silent heroes, as I call them. Give you a round of applause for sharing your story. I do want to jump real quick because I want to back up because I want to get ready to get into like your project and some of the amazing work that you're doing. But let's talk a little bit about, what got you into the creative space, the storytelling space. And you got that temple shirt on. I give you round of applause. Owls are everywhere.
Everywhere.
Lauren Sizzle, she went to temple. Of course, I went to temple. Shout out to the owls everywhere. Shout out to us, right? But you went to the temple. Let's talk a little bit. Let's start there real quick, because I'm sure it started there.
Did.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
So Lauren, you briefly mentioned, I started in radio. I started here in Philly.
Hold on, let me round of applause for that one right there.
Yep. And so I was at Power, for several years, actually while I was still at Temple before I graduated. And then it wasn't until, I moved from here to Atlanta, still in radio. While I was in radio in Atlanta, I was simultaneously started working in TV. And then I got the bug, and I was like, okay. I moved out of radio, and then I've just been on my path between TV and film. But as far as being a storyteller, if you let my family tell it, that's been since I could talk. And never stopped.
So, do you have any siblings?
I have a brother.
Are they in the creative space?
No, he's not. It's just me.
Just you. I know that's right.
But I have enough for all of us.
It's just me, and I don't need the rock to help out, right? No talking.
So who inspires you though? Like who everything
around me. Like I could leave here this evening and start thinking of a story to develop. I'm kind of quirky in that sense, but I love meeting good people, and really you could sit and tell me something that's going on in your family, and I'm just like, you know what, the world needs to know about it, but we all know there's a process that goes into it, but yeah, it could just start from a conversation, and then when something really tugs at my heart, I'm like, this is bigger than this. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, all right, fast forward. Started making these projects. You mentioned a scary, because I want everyone to walk through this, right? I'm gonna walk y'all through this process real quick, right? So, you did a movie, thriller. How was that experience in doing something like that? Because, when it comes to Black folk, we're not normally, in that space to do thrillers and horrors. But how was that experience?
So the cool thing about that is it was, I would say, mostly minority production company I was with. And because similar to what you just said, that's why they wanted to work on horror. And
I'll give a round of applause for them too.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Taylor Richard. He's doing amazing things, and not only does he have his production company, they do post as well. They're a great team of people, and for me, it doesn't matter what the genre is necessarily. If it's a good group of people, a good team, then I feel good in whatever we're doing. Even when it's a heavier topic, again, we just find a way to have joy, and that's always my bottom line: finding joy in the midst of it all.
Yeah, I think, and we're, like C said, we're not traditionally in those spaces when it comes to horror, but when you think about movies like The Blackening and things like that, and it's just taking it to another level, and I think. I have enjoyed quite a few Black horror films, but that is just like it's opening a new door for horror and comedy and all that. Not that Scary Movie and all that, that what do you call that when there's a bunch of movies?
Series.
Series or whatever. But I mean that has always been great. But just like I love to see us doing things that are, I guess, would be culturally outside of the box. So,
and to your point, yes, horror, but even us doing this project about various individuals with disabilities, that's not. It's not a big thing in our culture to talk about that. And then I'm West Indian too, and that's they're not big on taking medication, or just these labels. It's like, oh, you feeling sick? Okay, we'll go boil some ginger, take this shot of rum, and keep it moving. Yes. And that does not solve everything.
No doubt.
That's
true.
I
think that that's an excellent transition to start moving into, like, this new projects, the new projects that you're working on. But just to back up, because I want to put a parking, just put a parking space right in that area of you saying how Black folks don't necessarily, outside of even just being West Indian, I think our culture specifically, when we talk about Black folk, we have this thing where it's embarrassing for us to show a weakness.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so we tend to not necessarily say or amplify those dark spaces in our and the things that we're doing, right? And so what's your take on, now it seems that there are spaces that we're seeing more Black folks kind of, stretching out, like, maybe I can dip my toe in the water and say, like, I do possibly need some therapy, right? I do have a challenge in this, or I do have a hidden disability. I tell everybody on the show, I got ADHD. I stand up as I'm doing this, right?
Yeah.
But I do want you to give light or shed light on your feelings of, it seems that there is a new space for, Black folk, people within our culture to start talking about some of the things that's challenging our community. Yeah.
I'll use myself for an example. When I was first diagnosed or informed of my condition, it was about 10 years ago at this point. And to be honest, my family didn't know for months, outside of my parents and like two of my best friends. And it wasn't so much of embarrassment as it was I needed time to process. Right. Mm-hmm. And even still, all these years later, if you have to be really close to me to know. Right. Last year, I started working on what will be my feature documentary, and it's called The Color.
Round of applause for that. Okay.
It's called The Color of Pain. Okay. And the reason why is, I'm sitting in the hospital, surgery after surgery, and there were different things that kept happening to me, and I was like, I have to talk about this. Yeah. People also that know me know I'm not really one to be on the mic or be in front of the camera.
You got it, though. You got it. No doubt.
But the story is bigger than me.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when I thought about it in those terms, I said, I'm going to put my feelings aside, and we started working on that, and which led me to Renegades. Yeah. And just the same way I use this analogy, right? If we all have like probably biracial friends, right? For sure. And you've probably heard them say at one point or another, they're made to feel like they're not black enough or they're not white enough, right? That's right. And so having an invisible or hidden disability, it can sometimes be that way with various communities, right? You have the disability community that may feel like you're not disabled enough, or you don't speak about it in the way that they would like you to, right? Yeah. And then you have others who may not be going through a disability, and they're just like, well, you don't look like you have a disability.
You're not disabled enough, right?
Right, on both sides. And then, so it always comes down to having a strong sense of self, right? I'm not here to prove anything one way or the other to anyone, because you are not in my body. You are not going, you're not going through these surgeries with me. You're not experiencing the excruciating pain and pressure that I feel 9 times out of 10, right? And so putting all of that aside, right? Moving beyond that, like, okay, let's scratch the surface. What is really important here, right? For me, it's letting others know that you are not alone in this. That's right. I felt like that. And sometimes, to be honest, sometimes I still do, right? But there's a bigger message in it. And if I can talk today and help 2 people, then that's 2 people that were, felt alone yesterday.
Give you a round of applause for the amazing work that you're doing over there. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. So let's talk a little bit about the projects now, because you mentioned Renegade, right? So why don't you explain to everyone what Renegades is, and then we'll go into Celestine, and then one of my favorites, we'll talk about the 2 main projects that has been circulating and one that you actually sent to us. So let's talk about the Renegades.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So shout out to the creator of Renegades, Dayal Muhammad, Charlotte Mangian, and Amanda Upson. Those were the series execs on the project, and Day had the brilliant idea to come out with this docuseries of amplifying the voices of these 5 individuals with various disabilities. And so once she came up with that concept, then it came time to put together the teams to make it happen. Right. And I think most likely because I am, from Philly, that was the no-brainer to put me on the Celestine Tate Harrington project. Right. And then in addition to Thomas Wiggins. But what we're doing is they are 5 projects ranging between like maybe 10 and 13 minutes. And we just do a deep dive and talk about these individuals who are all very extraordinary in their own right. And sometimes people in the community have known about them, but we felt it's time to put them on a platform for the world to know who they are.
Fantastic. So since we're there, let's talk about the Celestine Tate Harrington one. So let's talk a little bit about that project.
Absolutely. Celestine was from North Philadelphia.
Yeah, hope you remember. No doubt.
And a lot of times we hear people, once the project came out, say that they remember seeing Celestine And that's a good feeling, because let's think about this, right? You could pass somebody on the street today. Does that necessarily mean you're going to remember them 30 years from now?
No, absolutely not.
Right. Right. And so people they remember her, and they have stories that they tell about her. And so that always makes me smile, because this lady was no joke. She didn't have the use of her limbs, and what oftentimes people will say, she didn't have arms or legs. She did have arms and legs. She didn't have the use of them, right? That did not stop this lady from doing anything she wanted to do in life. The people that are aware of her, though, is because she had her daughter, and the state came in and took her away. They said that because she had a disability, she was incapable of caring for her child. She then went to court, and they made her prove that she was capable. What she did in every day is what she did in court. So she undressed her daughter. She did all of this with the use of her mouth.
That's crazy. Wow.
She undressed her daughter. She took her diaper off and then changed her. And let me tell you that this is when they had to use pins. There wasn't no Velcro on this diaper. She did all this without poking her mouth. She then dressed her and, turned her over with gentleness and care. Once the judge saw that, he was like, you guys got to be kidding me. This lady is more than capable of caring for her child, right? And the old saying goes, it takes a village. This lady had her village, and she showed that she could care for her child. It is unprecedented because she got her daughter back within 10 days. To this day, it can take people months and years before they get their child back. Right. She got her daughter back in 10 days.
Wow, that's insane. Wow, that's wow. I think that let me give a round of applause. She deserves a round of applause. That one right there. Yes. I kudos to the gentleman. He used to work here, and I forgot his name. Forgive me for forgetting his name. He was at Philly. He was at Philly Camp. He was in a wheelchair, and I forgot his name. But I worked with him on a few different projects. He didn't like the name handicap. He didn't like the name disabled. He said the mislabeled population, which I thought was very interesting, and that stuck with me. So till this day, I use that, right? The mislabeled population. And it's so relevant because oftentimes we're mislabeled. Black folk has been mislabeled.
Absolutely.
And so it's very important for us to just acknowledge that and identify that, right? So we talked about Celestine, right? And I think that so you're in contact with her family now.
Absolutely, yep.
And you're really close to her daughter, the one that was in the actual doc as a baby that she changed the diaper to, right?
Yep, she's 49 now.
Wow. So what is that relationship like, and what is her memories of her mother?
Okay, so I have to say I'm extremely proud to be able to have formed a relationship with her family. They're like extended family to me now. And Naya will tell you herself, she put me through the ringer at first trying to get them involved, right? And they asked me, like even last week, be honest, how did that make you feel when we were treating you like that? And I said, well, see, here's the thing. I was keenly aware that the media and several journalists, they mistreated your mother, right? And so why would you welcome me with open arms, right? But all I can be is me. And one thing I'm not is fake. So I was like, so we're going to wait this thing out, right? And I said, and okay, you tell me you didn't want to do it. I said, cool. All right, next topic. What'd you make for dinner? So I just went about it like that, and they just saw I wasn't going anywhere. And so months later, she came on board, and that was important to me because I said, if without the support of the family, it then becomes a tribute piece, right? And if that's what you're going for, great. But if that's not your intention, well, you got a little bit of an issue there, right? And so now we're cool. We just we don't. it's not all about talking about her mom. I didn't ask her one question about her mom until she came onto the project officially. And they respect that and they appreciate that. So, you know, yeah, we're still good now.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah,
kudos
and
to you.
as far as her memories go, she was a baby, and she doesn't necessarily remember that time being taken away. But I'm also in contact with Celestine's sister, who was there the day Naya got removed from the house. They brought 7 police officers to the house to take away this baby from this woman who she wasn't going to chase you down. It was extremely excessive, right? And so if you talk to Naya now, what she will tell you is she remembers feeling the comfort of her mother's mouth on her.
Wow.
She'll tell you stories like that, and it's so endearing, you know. And she used to pretty much like go for a ride on her mom's back, and her mom was very imaginative and say, okay, where do you want to travel to today, type of thing. You know, so you hear heartwarming stories like that, and then it just makes you say, why did you ever doubt that this lady was capable of being a mother?
You know, I want to, so this is Naya right here, the baby that's
Yep.
with her. Wow, amazing. She's
49.
49 right now. Wow, that's amazing. Kudos to her. I want to do like a special director's cut junket with you so you can talk about this dynamic documentary as the scenes go, because I'm sure it was, you know, very interesting, this travel of solidifying and curating all of this content. I would love to talk to you more about that. Now, let's jump to one of my favorites that you sent to us. She sent to us is on our on our front page. You can see this Blonde Tom Wiggins, and it's an amazing story, and it touches me because I'm very big with credit. I'm very big with credit. You can keep your money. No, I need a bag, right? I get it. You need the bag. But one of the things that we constantly fight for is our credit, right? And this touched me in a way that it goes to what we continue to fight for, which is our credit, which he never really got.
Nope.
This documentary, right, this docu-series that you create as relates to Renegades, specifically to his story, you're giving him that agency.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's what I like about it. So let's talk a little bit about that particular story. And you can actually go to wetalkweekly.com, and they actually send us the full doc that you can see. It's on our front page. Make sure you go and watch it. And it's free. Go watch it. You know, share the story, talk about it, you know, support, amplify those voices, those with hidden disabilities. His wasn't, but at the very least, it's something that people need to understand and feel, you know, the connection to. But let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah, sure.
So Thomas Wiggins, he was born enslaved, and his mother, he would, what they say would now be called, he has a posthumous diagnosis of autism.
Right.
And as a child, you know, his mother was working in the field, and she didn't quite know what to do with him because he would run off. He's blind. He would hear these noises, and he would just wander off because he was intrigued. And so she would kind of keep him in a crate nearby. Sometimes people hear that and they're just like, oh, how dare her? But she was doing the best that she could. She was a slave, you know? And so he grew up being, you know, fascinated with the things around him. And unfortunately, the family that enslaved them, they were, you know, going to sell them off. And until they realized that he had this extraordinary gift, he started playing like at 3 or 4 years old. And just because he would hear things one time, and from like the family, they had an instructor, and so after that they started teaching him. And I want to say he was 8 years old when he put together his first composition.
Wow, amazing. And so walk me through the idea of now this particular family that he was sold into found out that he had this gift, right? From that point on, they started to get light bulbs. Right?
Oh, yes, they did. They had him touring around, not even just this country, around the world. This young man was going on international tours, and he did not really see the benefits of it. The family, the Bethune family, they said he would have made present day, it was over $32 million. Not only that, but his mother no longer had custody of him. She fought until she died to get him back, to no avail. It's heartbreaking story after heartbreaking story after heartbreaking story. They made this man do a song, Battle of Manassas, in support of, yeah,
keeping us enslaved, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so, but if you listen to the song, you can hear at times where it gets a bit subversive, like, and you can hear like he bangs on the piano, and we were like, he, as artists, he was expressing his anger.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Oh, you guys trying to make me do this song? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And so that was him showing his agency.
That's right.
in playing the song and doing the song.
That's right. And when you're a creative, you get that, right? You get those nuances. You get those, those witty little, comments that you see somebody saw, but they can't say too much.
Right.
But they throw a little jab because I get you, right? I'm on top of that, no doubt. And so now we have him creating these compositions, right? Remaking these compositions, right? One can say he is, dare I use his name, but one can say he's the true or the inventor of the remix.
I like to think he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Because when you hear his songs, you'll hear a Star Spangled Banner, you'll hear Yankee Doodle Dandy, you'll hear different songs that that you're familiar with, right? But he adds his little twist on it.
That's right. So this young man, this talented young man, you can't even say talent anymore. I say genius.
Absolutely.
Genius. He taught himself how to.
He was a child prodigy.
Child prodigy, yes. And so now that he's in his prime, so to speak, right? He started kind of, I don't want to say showing out, but he kind of started like getting that aha moment, so to speak. Let's talk a little bit about his interactions or his outcry, so to speak, with his music.
So towards the end of his life, he started refusing to perform. And I think it really was just overwhelming for him because these families were fighting over him like a commodity, and yet, as I mentioned, his mother never got him back, but they promised that she would. And they kind of like try to dangle money, like, we're going to give you this amount, and then she's like, okay. She goes back because at this point they took him up north to New York and New Jersey. And so his mother was there for a while, and with the promise of this money and being able to see her son again, she goes back to Columbus, Georgia, only to never see him again. And so when that was all happening, and because of these custody battles, and hate to say it, he got warmed up to the people that enslaved him.
Of course,
But then the wife and the Bethune, they got divorced, and so she fought for Thomas Wiggins, not because it was really important or she cared about him.
She wanted a part of that check.
She wanted a part of the money. And so once he had to go live with the wife, that's when he was just like, I had enough. He started refusing to play. And then, when things like this happen, your body can react to it. He then had a stroke, and then he was physically unable to play. About 2 weeks after that, he passed away. I always tell people, whenever I get more and more of this research, how in our community you say people will die of a broken heart. I really think he did, because when you're like me as a creative, like, I don't care how much pain I'm in, I get so elated and get so much joy to be able to create something. If somebody were to take that ability away from me, I have to tell you, I would probably go in a little corner somewhere and disappear, you know, or I would at least want to.
Right.
And so them taking away the one, I'm not going to say the one thing, but what he was most known for, rather, right? How would you feel?
Right.
I probably wouldn't want to live anymore.
Yes, especially
because that's what you live to do, and you can't do it. It's like I just wouldn't want to live anymore.
Yeah. To get through your days, you know,
Right.
what do you have to look forward to? You know, he would go on stage and, you know, he would really put on a show for them. He could play, he could stand up at the piano, stand on one foot, play, you know, he could turn around, play from behind him. He could do all of these things, and the crowd, they would just be so taken, right? Now, unfortunately, we know sometimes they too were taking advantage of him.
Of course.
People would like to talk about, you know, well, Mark Twain knew who he was. Well, Mark Twain's racist. Let's not go there, you know. And furthermore, the one thing I will tell you that I was extremely adamant about was not using some of the terms that were used back then. They would call him a freak, like a circus act. And my rebuttal was and still is, if you are familiar with Jack Johnson, right?
Just shout out to Jack Johnson.
Shout out to Jack Johnson, right? What we're not going to do is we're not going to put Jack Johnson on a pedestal and call him unapologetically black. And then when you have this black man, they were out same exact time, because he has a disability, we're going to call this one a freak and a circus act. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, because some would kind of, and there has been conversation about Jack Johnson being a freak, so to speak, because
of his strength.
Because his strength,
right?
How big he was and how nobody could touch him, right? I mean, he would literally drive through the city in a car, waiting to get stopped. And what you gonna do?
Yeah. He would.
Yeah, let me give you your salary for a year.
Yep.
You know, here you go. Take that and go. I'm a black man and I'm still, you know.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jack Johnson. But no, I definitely get the point. This time flew just that fast. That's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun, right? But what I would say, right, before I let you go, because I would be remiss, since we are talking about his talent and his music, right? Let's talk about the music that curated the Renegade soundtrack. I think it's amazing.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
I am so proud and honored to mention Carvin Higgins and his team, The Ring. They provided original music in addition to the theme song for the project, and are coming out with a soundtrack, which I'm not sure if I can list everybody, is like a talent through and through. And really shout out to them, because they came on for, like, because it was a meaningful and impactful project that I mean, I didn't have to beg them or anything like that, you know. They got right on board and they did their thing. And so when you see these projects, you'll see, well, you know, Thomas Wiggins, 19th century, right? Celestine, you know, passed away in 1998, so a little bit more present day. And they also did the music for Brad Lomax, who was a Black Panther, right? So you see the range right there. And I have to tell you, I will call Carvin and the team and say, okay, for Wiggins, for example, okay, I need this classical music and I need to sound like, I didn't even have to finish my sentence. They would be like, I got you. No. Wait a minute. Like, really? He had a team of people come in, play live instruments, and completely mixed and mastered, would hand it over to us the next day. That is unheard of, right? But I can't even say I was more passionate than them. Like we were probably neck and neck. They got into it, and he brought in his entire team. And they worked tirelessly to get everything done for us, every request we had.
Fantastic. Give you a round of applause, man. Kudos to you, and shout out to you for all the amazing work that you're doing and continue going. I see this as being something really huge. And I'm excited and honored that, we were able to have it. Like, you're going to see an exclusive on We Talk Weekly. So make sure you go to We Talk Weekly and see it for free, absolutely free. Just share it, like it, you subscribe, talk about it, tell everyone about it. But I just want to thank you for all of the work that you have done. Before we let you leave, though, I want you to tell people who may be watching that may essentially have that hidden disability or not, right? What would you tell someone who's watching for them to stay encouraged and to continue to do some of the things that they're doing?
Man, you're going to have some tough days if you haven't already. And I always say, and I do, keep a journal. Write down how you're feeling, because sometimes you do feel a bit embarrassed or have shame. Like, don't though. You're not alone. Talk whoever you feel the closest with and that you feel like will understand. Reach out to me. I don't have to really know you, but I'll hear your story. I'll listen to you. I'll tell you, some of the things that I went through. And again, if that could help one or two people, then I'm grateful that I was able to do it. But we have to move past the shame and embarrassment of it all. And really, once you start peeling back the layers of that onion, then you can start to heal internally, emotionally and physically.
Fantastic. Give you a round of applause for that one right there. Kudos to you. And so, since you said they can reach out to you, it's a great time to say, how can everyone get in contact with you and all that good old stuff? Yeah.
Well, contact me on Instagram. If you know me, I'm not like the best, but once I check it out, trust me, I will hit you right back. Like, right back. You can hit me up. It's Velvet Hammer LA.
That's funny.
That's somebody's first name.
Hey, girl.
That's funny. And so so thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for bringing a spotlight to this very important subject.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. One thing that we say on the show is, once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back. You should probably
don't forget
come back.
you said that.
Absolutely. You should probably come back for our New Year's Eve show. Yeah, I think that would be good. Be co-host with us. Come in the studio.
I sure will.
Yeah, come in the studio and be co-host with us. I'm gonna throw you a curveball real quick. All right. I'm gonna throw you a curveball. This is something that I normally do to some guests that I like, right? It's not saying that I like all my guests, right? So I want to know the one thing that no one else knows, because you're pretty transparent about, your hidden disabilities.
I am now.
Yeah, okay, cool. So this is why I want to give you this question, right? And so what's the one thing that no one else knows about you that you can tell us and We Talk Weekly for the exclusive? Yeah.
Well, and I will say, like, outside of, like, my parents, right?
Okay.
I go to therapy.
Really?
Absolutely.
I'm getting a round of applause. Really. You practice what you preach, huh?
I sure do. I sure do. I can't do it all. I can't do it by myself. And when I tell you, it's like when people say you're going to the doctor, you can say, oh, I feel fine. Well, your doctor can check your vitals and know you're not fine, right? If you do go to a therapist, which I strongly suggest, right? Not even because you have a hidden or invisible disability, because in life, you're going to be thrown some curveballs. You can't handle it all by yourself. You could stay and be overwhelmed and, do something that you probably shouldn't do. Or you can go speak to somebody who is completely unbiased. It's not a part of your family, like, listening to you so they can go tell your aunt, your cousin, your uncles and everybody else. This person, they are unbiased. They are trained. And when you do go, you're not doing yourself any favors by not being completely transparent with them. Like, some of the stuff that I say, we're not going to go there on this show. I'm like, I just say it all, because I am an imperfect person, right? But I'm trying to work towards being, and being a better version of myself. And the only way that can happen is if you get help.
There you go. You're pretty good at this, huh? You're pretty good at this.
I mean,
Give a round of applause for this. All right, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want you to go anywhere. This is We Talk Weeklies after the talk of WPPMRP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
And the beautiful
Marsha Hallager.
And the beautiful she back there.
Classy Lady Sparkles.
It's Classy Lady Sparkles definitely in the building. So all right, y'all, we out here like last year, and we'll see you on